The last meeting we went for in Obolo, there are 3 of us in a room. In one room, lying on the same bed. Pastors were traveling from everywhere to see the apostle. I laughed. We have learned to abound and to abase. It took the value of suffering for such convictions to be formed. The people working with me, we are like friends and brothers. When you see garbage in the souls of men, it's because they didn't go to the valley of suffering. And because they didn't accept suffering, they didn't give God opportunity to deal with pride, to deal with arrogance, to deal with anger, to deal with lust. And when they force their way to the top, they bring reproach to the name of Jesus. Every year you hear one scandal or the other. Every year. Are you the only preacher? I know they try to bring people down with scandals. But I also know that a lot of people are bringing reproach and ridicule to the name of God. I taught in a secondary school for 5 years. I had opportunity of scholarships to India. God told me remain in Makurdi. I was in Makurdi with master's degree, earning 22,000. I left that school to another school, earning 25,000. Lord, I will leave this city. If you leave, you are doomed. Because the light that came that time say, stay in Makurdi. How can I be in Makurdi for 5 years, getting to 7 years? You are not talking. Because there is pride in you that need to crush. And for that pride to be crushed, you have to go to secondary school every day. The first 3 years, I will see my friends. They'll say, where are you now? Hi. To now say I'm teaching mathematics and physics. Me, that they call scholar. That man sitting there was my mate in the university. The things we say are not stories. You are lecturing in Gombe now, State University. That's my mate. He's a very intelligent man. He was our class rep. But I had the highest CGPA. I was the scholar of the class. How can the scholar of the class be teaching in the secondary school? When I relocated from that secondary school, I went to the next one and started teaching chemistry. They now promoted me to HOD. Guess the salary of HOD? 25,000. And God said, remain there. A point came, pride began to die. And when people ask me, I say, I'm in Mount St. Gabriel's. Meanwhile, while I was going through these trials, there were still many temptations. The school I left before I went to MSG, the proprietress wanted me to cheat in WAEC. What if I cheated there? Some of my students follow me now. What would have happened to them? But in that valley of suffering, God was checking my conviction. Is it money you are pursuing? This pride must go down. And it took more than 7 years. Now, we can go anywhere, undergo anything, it doesn't matter. People will look at you and say, please, sir, hey, where would they? When you honor, you know it. If you don't honor, we are the same. We didn't come to preach for honor. We came to preach to win souls. I've gone to places before where we trek to the meeting venue. And when we showed up, the power of God moved mightily. But there are many young people like myself who have not touched anything. If you don't bring a jeep to carry them, they will not preach. They will say you have dishonored them. You didn't discern their mantle. You didn't discern their mantle. One prophet on crossover service put a bucket in the front of the altar, and women will come and with towel and sit inside, remove the towel. He's batting them for favor. When they bat them, the other prophet will rub cream on their body. Lust that can't be tamed because they didn't accept suffering. And that thing they are doing is a demon that told them to do it. It's not God. But when a man enters the economy of the glory, light will appear to him. And when that light comes, he has direction. That man can walk through death. He knows where to step. He can walk through a bomb mine. He knows where to step. Where people are coming to and are dying, he will walk through it as if there is no crisis. And you are wondering, what makes you so invincible? Is the light of God. Because when the Shekinah begins to lead you, the Shekinah can take you through the Red Sea. The Red Sea will part. The Shekinah can take you through the wilderness. Stones will bring water for you. The Shekinah can take you through the strong nations where the king of Bashan is dwelling. You will lick them up. You will go through Jericho. You will go through Ai. You will go through every obstacle. You will succeed. But a man who does not have light, he will collide with everything and anything. There is nowhere that is impossible. It becomes impossible when there is no light. And God can only trust you with light when you have accepted suffering. How do you think people are succeeding in ministry in Pakistan, in Afghanistan? When you hear the news, you know you can't go there. How come God's servant is succeeding here in Gombe? There are those succeeding in Meduguri. How? Is it not the same Meduguri that is littered with violence? What is happening? There is light. They know when to do their service. They know when to do their vigils. They know when to go out for evangelism. Everything is by the Spirit. Because light have been given to them. They are walking in the glory. And the sign that they are walking in the glory is by light. That man can wake up today and say, today is evangelism. He announced it in church. When he stood up to go, light will appear. And say, not today. He will call them and stop. And then you will hear that same day, where they wanted to go to, there was a bomb blast. The next day, he goes there. And he wins souls and come back. Another pastor will say, this is where they are winning souls. Go there, you'll be shocked. Another businessman wants to invest in a business. Light say no. No, it's not this one. And he will wait. And somebody else that has no light will hear that this is what everybody is investing in. The day he invests in it, that's the day he crashes. Somebody called me and said he has lost over $100,000 in cryptocurrency. You know what happens to him? When a coin begins to go up, he will be checking. Should I buy it? He will go to this site, see the analysis, go to this site. The day he buys it, that's the day people withdraw their money. And the coin will go down. He will go and buy another one. It will go, there's no light. Meanwhile, there's another person. If you don't walk in the glory, trust me, you may live with a prophet and your life will be destroyed. You may live with an apostle and your life will be destroyed. Have you not seen many people before? It's after 30 years or 40 years of living in the house of a man of God that they discover they are in the wrong place. And then after 50 years of their life, they are trying to start living afresh. They have been destroyed. Because that you are living with an apostle or with a prophet does not mean you have direction. If you have direction, you will know whether you should be there. And you will serve with all your heart. And if you have direction, you will know whether you should not be there. May the light of God not appear to you at old age. Because your life would have been spent before you realize it. Many people are living in a city where God didn't send them because there's no light. They struggle there until when they are 70 years old, they retire from service and they come back to the village. And they die 3 years later. That means they didn't live a fulfilled life. The reason they didn't live a fulfilled life is because light did not appear to them. The glory of God comes with light, and light comes to give you specific direction in destiny. I've seen people before who preached the gospel for 10 years before they realized that they were politicians. And the time they went to politics, their time had passed. Because the season God opened to them had closed. They didn't know it, so God have raised another person. And so they now go into politics and still fail. And they want to come back into preaching. People now say, brother, where are you going? What is happening? Don't you? Their life becomes a contradiction because they didn't have light. I've seen people before who just started speaking in tongues. And because they started speaking in tongues and they are on fire, they started calling them apostle. You are not apostle because you are on fire. You are an apostle because Jesus appeared to you and sent you. Everybody who is an apostle have seen Jesus Christ. Only a man who is not an apostle without it. There's nobody who is an apostle who have not seen the Lord. That's why we are called sent men. That's why our messages are not from Bible study. They are from encounters and they are from the burdens of the Lord. Because an apostle, Paul said, have I not seen the Lord? Am I not an apostle? It takes an encounter with Jesus and an outright commissioning by Jesus to be an apostle. That you caught fire and you are now praying in tongues for 10 hours does not mean you are an apostle. That fire may be for business. Because God wants to send you there to deal with mammon. And then you use that fire. You preach for 15 years and 15 years become 15 years of pain and confusion. While you are yet preaching, you have high blood pressure and you die. And then they are wondering, how can somebody be working for God and die? Because that's not where God says you should work for him from. He's working for God but from the wrong place. And the reason is because there's no light. Meanwhile, when he was growing up, that God wanted to mentor him, every door that looked closed, he ran away from it. Meanwhile, God orchestrated it so that while he's going through the fire, light will appear to him. He rejected fire. Do you think the people manifesting now, they appeared on the scene. Go and hear their stories. You will know their wilderness experiences. Before Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit, he was in the wilderness for 40 days. If there's no suffering, there will be no glory. And the first expression of glory is light. You come and see a big building like this in Gombe. You see blue light, you see colored light, you see microphone, you see camera, you see people standing outside in order. You now say, man, this thing, I need to learn how it is done. Ask the man of God. Let him tell you the value of the shadow of death that he walked through. All of this instruction came as packets. One day, God said, go to Gombe. You come to Gombe, you are still laboring and praying. God shows up and says, go to this location, meet this person, do this, do that. This is a collocation and a collection of particles of light that are aggregated into this manifestation.